Hey guys, what's happening? Thanks for tuning in, coming back and watching. I do appreciate it. Hope your day's going really well. I'm in Luminar 4 today and continuing to do some workflow samples or examples just to give you some ideas for the different kind of photos you may take as well. And in today's example, I've got a shot that I took in Heidelberg, Germany. Here it is. And I love this kind of scene, but it's lacking quite a bit, not the least of which is a terrible sky, which is super easy to fix in Luminar 4. But also I wanted to bring up some of the details. So after a few minutes, I turned it into that, and the intent here was to create a little bit more dramatic, but in my opinion, not over the top, amp up some of the colors, some of the details, and of course, replace the sky. So one more time, there's before and after. Now I'm going to reset these filters and we'll walk through it. Okay, first things first, I did straighten the photo. It was slightly crooked, but that is my base image, unedited except for the straighten. And the first thing I want to do is actually go over to Aurora HDR 2019. So I just click on Edit, Plugins, Aurora HDR, and it'll launch this image over there for me. I find that these two work really well together, and being able to take a single exposure and round trip it to Aurora and back to Luminar 4 is a nice thing to have. One of the reasons I like it is there's a couple of sliders here, and they are in HDR Enhance, and that's this HDR Clarity and this HDR Smart Structure. And as you can see, they really do help amp up the details in the foreground, which is what I care about. So I'm going to hit Apply, and that'll drop that photo back into Luminar 4, and then from there I can continue with my editing. Okay, here we are. So now you can see it's much crunchier. Let's say there's the before and the after. And if you wanted to look, you can just go up here to the layers panel. You can see I'm on the Aurora HDR layer, and that JPEG, I'm editing a JPEG in this case, that's my base image or base layer. Had no edits to it, but the Aurora HDR layer is the one that I'm on. You can also see that labeled up here under Essentials. Now, the first thing I want to do is put a new sky on it. So I'm going to pop over here to Creative, get AI Sky Replacement, and I'm going to use one of the built-in skies. I think I'm going to get Dramatic Sunset 4, and I'll let that drop into the photo. And there you go. Now, I need to make a few slider adjustments to get it looking just right. Okay, the first thing I want to do is I want to take the horizon position and pull it up just a little bit, because I do want to have that sun kind of peeking over the hill. And so, as you can see, I'm kind of sliding that up. I've now got the sun in view. I want to relight scene a little bit, so I'm going to go about maybe 35 here. And I think that's about all I really want to do. Also note there's a flip sky button here. If you click that, it'll flip it and the sun will be on that other side. I actually think I like it on this left side, so I'm going to leave that. And now that I've put the new sky in, and by the way, there's the before and the after. I love how that blends those skies. I'm going to go work on balancing the light and adding a few finishing touches. So let me pop over to Essentials tab. The first thing I want to do is go into light, and I just want to take the temperature down a little bit. Because it's a sunset photo, I want to make sure that the colors all kind of match. And I usually start with temperature and sometimes tint as well. But then there's also going to be some contrast adjustments and things like that. So I'll start with smart contrast. I'll go to about 33. And I think I want to take the shadows down. I feel like it's a little too bright. So I'm going to go about the same, about negative 33. And what I'm trying to do is get that light to kind of balance out between the new sky and the existing base image. I also think it's going to be helpful to take the highlights down a little bit, maybe something about like, let's see, -5, something like that. So I think I'm making the progress already. I'm going to use some more filters to continue this enhancement. Next up is AI Enhance, and I'm just going to get AI Accent and go to about 20 here, and 20, 21, something like that. It always does a great job, I think, of helping to balance light. There's before and there's after. Not a big difference, but it's subtle, but I do think it helps the image. Now, as part of the balancing of the tones and colors, I'm going to go into Landscape Enhancer and get Golden Hour, which I'm going to drag to the right to about a 27 or something like that. And you can see how that brightened the image a little bit, but also gave it a little bit warmer look. And that's because I do have the sun in the image, and based on what I did with the sun in the sky replacement filter, which was to lift that sun over the hill so that the light is kind of shining down on the scene, I wanted to add a little bit of warmth to that foreground. So there's the before and the after. Again, not dramatic, but subtle, but I think it fits with the what you would expect the light to be doing in this scene. Okay, next up is Adjustable Gradient. That's over here on the Pro tab. So I'm going to click on Pro and go to Adjustable Gradient. Now I'm going to set orientation, and I'm just going to move this up a little bit. Nothing really significant. something about like that. I just kind of want to get a little bit of separation between what I consider the top and the bottom of the photo. And in the top, what I want to do is take the warmth down a little bit. I'm going to pull that down about a -12. Again, these are all kind of subtle adjustments, and that's kind of the point, is you can make these subtle adjustments and still arrive at a finished product that's fairly drastically different than what you started with, even though you may not be making massive slider adjustments on each filter. Okay, now I'm going to click on bottom for adjustable gradient. Here I'm going to take the exposure down a bit on the bottom. I feel like it's still too bright. Again, I'm trying to balance that out. I warmed it up a little bit with golden hour, and over here I'm going to reduce the exposure a little bit. I'm also going to take the highlights down, something maybe about like that. And in this case, I'm going to take the warmth up slightly, so maybe like a 15 or 16. Again, it should be warmer visually because the sun, which is in the photo, is kind of shining down because I raised it over the hill. So things to think about. And I feel like we've come a long way. Here's the before and here's the after. The last thing I want to do is I want to go back over here to Essentials, and I want to get into the Vignette filter. The Vignette just helps you sort of tighten up the focus area. So I'm going to choose a subject, which is going to be these ladies walking here across the bridge. And I'm going to take the amount down, something like that, and size, kind of tighten that up as well, and then add some inner light. Something about like that on Vignette. Let me show you the before without the Vignette filter and the after. Again, it sort of tightens up focus. I actually think I might change the amount and the size a little bit. I don't want to sort of dramatize it. So I think a Vignette does a great job of helping you isolate the subject and kind of draw the viewer's eye in. I think you're naturally kind of drawn that way, but I think it helps tighten it up a little bit. And that's really the full workflow. Let me show you one more time. There's before and there's after, and that's just using Aurora HDR as a plugin for a single exposure, plus some other filter enhancements to help you sort of add a little bit of color and light balance and that sort of thing. And I think we've come a long way. One more time, there's before and after, and that's how I did it in this one. I do appreciate you watching. Thanks again, my friends. I'll see you soon. Have a great day. Take care, and adios.